Allahu minna wa min. May Allah accept it from him, from us.
Ameen.
Inshallah. We have the honor and privilege to invite our guest speaker for today, the person of Dr. Aisha, Adaviruku, who is going to take us through the mental well-being of the Ummah, whose responsibility she supported in the high table with our dear treasurer, the person of
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل من لساني يفقهوا قولي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to Abuja Muslim Forum. For every member returning, Jazakumullah khairan. For our new members, welcome. Our topic today is the mental well-being of the Ummah, whose responsibility? The mental well-being of the Ummah, whose responsibility? And I would like to commence by taking us through a very brief exercise. It's a mindfulness exercise. So I would want you to sit comfortably. If you're watching us from your homes, you can also join this exercise. It's a very simple exercise. It's a mindfulness exercise to relax us. So sit comfortably with your hands on your laps, close your eyes, and just take deep breaths. Like this, and then release all the stress you can feel on the inside of you. Imagine that you're in this beautiful island, and the island is very beautiful, it's blue. You can see where the sky meets the water. It's so beautiful, and you just see the magnificence of Allah in His creations, and you say Alhamdulillah for the gift of your eyes, for the gift of this sight, for the gift of your imagination, which is allowing you experience this right now, even though you're sitting in your house or you're sitting in this very hall. So just allow this ambience in your imagination, allow it to relax you fully. And in a moment, I'm going to ask us to come back here, coming back with all the relaxation that we felt, just imagining ourselves being in this beautiful gift of Allah, using our imaginations. So in a moment, I'll count from 3 to 1 and we'll be back. I'm ready to explore the mental well-being of the Ummah, whose responsibility. 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back. Now, when we talk about mental well-being, we're talking about mental health. What exactly is mental health? WHO defines it, that's mental health, as our ability to be able to be in a state of well-being in which everybody realizes their own abilities and they can cope with the normal stressors of life and work productively and fruitfully, and we're able to make a contribution to our community. So we'll say that your mental health is top-notch if you're able to cope with the normal stress of life. Like coming here today, you had to, maybe you drove, maybe you took a car, or maybe you even took a walk if where you're coming from is close. Part of what you did was stressful, but you were able to cope with that stress. So that's coping with the normal stresses of life. And you were able to be productive by being here today to gain from this particular class. And then you're able to make a contribution to your community through the work you do, through the interactions you do with your family members, with your friends, and every other thing you do every day. Now, for us to understand deeper mental health and how this can translate to our mental well-being, we need to understand stress. What is stress? Stress is anything that can cause us mental health problems. But there are different levels to it. We have chronic stress and we have tolerable levels of stress. So when you have chronic stress, we say that as professionals, we put individuals through a recovery. But if it's tolerable levels of stress, like being here today, being at work today, you had to interact with people. Some of those interactions came with some level of stress on your path. And there is also what we call, eustress. Eustress is that stress you put yourself through to accomplish an objective. Like the Super Eagles just won us the AFCON match yesterday. They had to go through some level of training. They have to go through stress to actually be able to achieve that feat. So eustress is that stress you put yourself through that gives you this, what do you call it now? That gives you dividends, that gives you like an outcome. So for a woman, for instance, who gets pregnant, goes into labor and gives birth to that child, what she has just been through is eustress. Because once she sees, the beautiful face of her baby, some women in labor, they will tell you, I'll never have another child. But as soon as they see the face of their baby, they want to have another baby, right? So in essence, stress is a normal part of life. Our ability to cope with tolerable stress and achieve our objectives is what we refer to as maintaining our mental health. Now, there's the other side of it where stress becomes chronic and we need intervention to be able to overcome chronic stress. So what are some of the symptoms of chronic stress? The symptoms can be physical, it can be emotional and mental, it can be behavioral. For the physical symptoms, we have aches and pain, we have chest pain, we have a feeling of exhaustion, we have dizziness, headaches, or just bodily shaking, we have muscle tension. Some people experience stomach or digestive problems, and some people have problems with intimacy, and some people experience high blood pressure. For emotional and mental symptoms of stress, we have excessive worry, we have depression, we have mood swings, we have sadness, we have panic attacks, we have people who lose their sense of humor because they are experiencing chronic stress, and then we have frustration. Now, how does this manifest in behavior? For individuals, some people resort to abuse of drugs or drinking alcohol to try to cope with stress, while some people resort to gambling, and some people resort to overeating or undereating. Some people get addicted to sex, or they get addicted to shopping, or they get addicted to the internet. These are all some coping mechanisms that people leverage, and these are negative coping mechanisms. Now, what can we do instead of this? And as an UMMAH, how can we contribute to the well-being of individuals in our cycle? The question is, mental well-being, whose responsibility? How do you maintain your mental health in the face of all this stress you face daily? The number one responsibility for your mental well-being is the individual themselves. The individual has to take charge of their mental well-being by understanding and learning about stress, so that they can be able to observe themselves and know when they need to take action. as individuals, we need to observe ourselves and know when we need stress management intervention. That's why in most places of work, we have annual leave. The annual leave is meant to help the staff to recover some of the physical and strenuous activities they've undergone during the course of working. So when individuals are able to utilize their leave productively to rest and to pursue other alternatives that would increase their mental health, they become more resilient. Resilience is that ability we have to stretch and bounce back when we face stress in our daily lives. Our ability to be able to accommodate that pressure is what we refer to as resilience. We say individual. So you can liken resilience to, let's say, when you carry a rubber band and you stretch it, right? It bounces back to its original shape when you release it. That's how resilience looks like for an individual. And for individuals, it goes beyond, bouncing back. It's your ability to stay focused when under stress, your ability to be able to be productive when under stress, your ability to be able to manage your emotions when under stress. So we need emotional intelligence to be able to exercise emotional resilience. If you look at the character of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is the best example of an emotionally intelligent human being. In the times of stress, even when he was going through all of that stress during the hijrah to Medina, during his stay, during the time of boycott, during the time he lost his uncle, during the time he lost his beloved wife, our mother Khadija radiallahu anha, he was able to keep his faith firm in Allah in spite of all of this. And when we look through history, we see the prophets of Allah, how they were able to, in times of stress, how they were able to keep their faith and how they were able to be emotionally intelligent in relating to people around them. If you look at some people who came into Islam, some of them, like the father of Abu Bakr, Caliph Abu Bakr, when he interacted with Rasul, he decided, well, if this is the character of Rasul and this is the character of Islam, then he wants to become a Muslim. So some people that actually embraced Islam, they came into Islam just by interacting with Rasul and just by studying his character. So people may not know Islam, but people know us and people see us. We are the face of Islam. And we can actually, be ambassadors of Islam by how we handle stress, by how we handle our mental health, by how we handle our mental well-being. So we, number one, are responsible for our mental well-being. But we all have a role to play, because the Sharia tells us that the Muslim are one body. If one part hurts, the other hurts. And Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us that the entire religion of Islam is based on character. So how can you as a brother, how can you as a mother, how can you as a father be an example of that excellence in character to people around you, to promote your own mental well-being and also help others promote their mental well-being? Because take it or leave it, you remember we just went to this beautiful island, but sometimes I ask people that if you're told to live in that island all by yourself, you're not interacting with anybody, you've been given a huge amount of money, and you are expected to live in that island alone for the rest of your life, would you take it? That island is very beautiful. You have all the money in the world. So why won't you live there alone? Because we need each other. Nobody is an island. No human being is an island, which is why it is essential that we contribute to the mental well-being of people in our cycle. If we go back again to the life of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we would see that he was an example of the most excellent character. In him, we have a role model. Like the Sharia tells us that he's our role model. He not only was able to maintain his own mental health, but he was also able to help the Muslims. And he's an example today from all he said, from all he did. So we follow his sunnah, we read about what he said in the hadiths, and they once asked our mother, Aisha radiallahu anha, and she said that the character of the Quran is Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So it's very essential for us to know that our character is important in not only maintaining our own mental well-being, but in helping others, in supporting others to maintain their own mental well-being. Which is why when we ask the question, the mental well-being of the woman, whose responsibility? It is the responsibility first of the individual and the responsibility of all of us. Because we need to be able to support others when they struggle. We need to be an empathetic ummah. The ummah that speaks kind words. The ummah that exemplifies kindness, just like Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam did. There was a narration where, even to the extent that one of his companions brought some fruits for him and he ate it all alone. And then the other companions were wondering, why did he do that? And then it was later they realized that it was sour and he didn't want them to make faces while they were eating it with him and sadden the person that brought him the fruits. So this is the example that we need to be. We need to be this example. When we look at, the essence of when we look at our essence as individuals, we would know that from research, it's been proven that the child from age 0 to 8 years goes through what we call an imprint period. Now, this imprint period shapes the adult. So the influences of our upbringing, our significant emotional experiences, our environment and education shape us. So when we say the mental well-being of the woman, whose responsibility? As an adult, it is your responsibility. As a child, it is the responsibility of the parents or the caregivers. Because the parents and the caregivers shape who that child becomes. From age 0 to 8, the imprint period is when the child gets to have a frame of reference for how the world operates. That's why, Islam says that we're all born Muslims. It is our family that makes us, go the other way. The influences of our upbringing from age 0 to 8 is so very important to who we become. There is what we call adverse childhood experiences. There are about 8 to 10 indicators for how the trauma can color the adult. An adult now, because of the adverse childhood experiences they had when they were young, and which led them to go through trauma, that trauma can now color their psychology now as adults. Which is why the role of parents and caregivers is so huge. The role of parents and caregivers can never be underestimated in the life of an individual. Because if the individual, even, when it comes to the Sharia, from age 0 to 8 is when you are playing with the child, shaping the character of the child, being the role model to the child. From 8 to about 16 is from 0 to 8, then 8 to 16, then 16 to about 21, right? Is where the child is now an adult. But from age 0 to 8 is so important. Psychological research has proven that if, as parents, we can optimize those early years for our child. It's a gift that keeps on giving to the adults now. It's one of the greatest foundations for an adult's mental health and mental well-being. Age 0 to 8 is what happens within those years is one of the greatest foundations you have for an adult. Those years are so very crucial, and the Sharia also emphasizes the importance of those years in the life of an individual. We each have a responsibility as parents. And when we talk about the Ummah, when we are adults, we're not only in the role of parents to our own children, but we are also role models to every young person around us. They're seeing us, they're emulating us, they're copying what we're doing. When we talk about how role modeling works, in language, the meaning of what you say to the person that is receiving the message, the meaning they give to that message comes from 7% of what they hear, 38% from the tone, and 55% from your body language. If you look again at the life of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's described as when he's having a conversation with you, he will turn his whole body to face you, and then he would nod, and he will maintain eye contact with you to show that he's listening to what you're saying. So body language is very essential when it comes to role modeling. It's not enough for us to tell the young what to do. We must, by the examples we practice, be an example of good moral character to the young. When we do this, we're enhancing not only our own mental well-being, but we're also enhancing the mental well-being of the young, because it goes beyond just telling them, sit here, don't be angry. There are instances, there was this particular instance, we're in a lecture hall, and then we just heard a mother shouting outside, and she was so loud that even though we're inside the hall, everybody inside the hall was hearing what she was saying. And then, her attention was called, and she said she was scolding her child. Now, Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us that the greatest thing we can do is to master our emotions when we're angry. So how do we master our emotions and teach the young how to manage their own emotions when they are upset, rather than just, showing them this uncontrolled behavior when we are angry, and then we expect them to be able to manage their emotions when they are angry. We need to, by the examples we show, be an example of how to manage anger, not by telling them, but by showing them. This is why body language is so essential in teaching. It's not enough to say. That's why most times what you say escapes your child. It's by what you do. It's by what you show. You have to be it. You have to be that behavior, just like Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For his grandchildren, he will ride them on his back. He will be their horses. When he's in sujood and they clamp on his back, he would prolong his sujood. What do we do these days? We are likely to just fling that child away. How are we teaching that child to master their emotions when we cannot, as adults, master our own emotions? So, the mental well-being of the Ummah is each and everyone's responsibility. We have primary responsibility and we have secondary responsibility. The primary responsibility in this instance is an adult human being. The secondary responsibility is everybody around you and everybody you are around. It is pari passu. It is give and take. You cannot delegate or just, outsource the responsibility of your mental well-being to others. it is your primary responsibility, and people around you have a role to play, just like you have a role to play with them. And for children, the primary responsibility is the adults around them, especially the parents. You must, by your example, be a role model, just like Rasulullah was a role model for us. Sorry. You must, by your example, exemplify how to be mentally well and also help others be mentally well. Just a moment. Now, when we go back to the Quran, Allah tells us in the Quran, in Surah Al-Baqarah 286, He says, Allah does not burden a soul beyond that we can bear, that the soul can bear. Now, this verse encapsulates the fact that we have to practice balance. We have to come to, when we experience grief or trials, we should know that Allah has given us the capacity to bear it. We are that ummah that ties our camels and then leaves our affairs in the hands of Allah. We are the ummah of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that tie your camel and then leave your affairs in the hands of Allah. There was a Bedouin that came to the mosque when Rasul was there, and then he left his camel by the tree and he was going into the mosque. And Rasul asked him, how about the camel? He said, I have left the camel under the care of Allah. Rasul said, go back, tie it, then leave it under the care of Allah. And this is what we need to do. In our personal and professional lives, when we experience trials or when we experience things that needs our attention, we need to give it attention. There are people who behave like ostriches. They see a problem right before them. It could be in their personal life, it could be in their professional life, and then they bury their heads in the sand like the ostrich, not doing their path. We are that ummah who does, our path, and then we leave our affairs to Allah. We have to do our part first. If you have a child who is unruly, if you have something you need to do, seek professional help for the child. That's how once you're unable to handle that situation, seek professional help for yourself or for the child. That's how you tie your camel. That's how you ensure your mental well-being. That's how you take responsibility for your mental well-being and for the mental well-being of people under your care. Because Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has told us that we're all shepherds. Each of us. We are shepherds and we must tend to our flocks. The man is the shepherd over the family. The woman is the shepherd over the household. Even the servant is the shepherd over the belongings of his master. So each of us, we have a responsibility to play in our own mental well-being and in the mental well-being of those that Allah has entrusted into our care, either as parents or in whatever capacity. As husbands, as our kawamu, is very essential. And then when we look at mental well-being as a concept, it goes beyond just, what happens in our heads. Because whatever affects the body affects the mind. So, to optimize our mental well-being, we must live holistically as individuals. We must optimize our physical well-being. We must optimize our spiritual well-being. We must optimize our emotional well-being and psychological well-being. All of these, they're important to optimizing our mental well-being. And the core of our mental well-being is learning, seeking the right knowledge. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told us that it is the duty of each one of us to seek knowledge. We each have a duty. We each have a duty to ourselves and as vicegerents of Allah to seek knowledge. And it doesn't stop at only seeking knowledge, but we must also take action on the knowledge we have sought. One of my favorite writers said something. He said, knowledge is power, practice is the key to it. So it's not enough for us to come here today and discuss about mental well-being without going away with a plan to either start or increase how we are optimizing our mental well-being and taking responsibility for those under our care to help them optimize their mental well-being. So, for mental well-being, the physical includes taking proper hygiene of our body. It includes feeding our body with the right nutrients. And when we're able to do this for ourselves and those under our care, and also seeking medical help when we need it, when we're able to do this for ourselves and those under our care, we have done our responsibility. And remember that as Muslims, our intention is key to all we do. Once we purify our intention for why we're doing what we do, we have tied our dunya and ahira goals together. We have done our path in this life, and we also look forward to the reward on our scales on the day when there is no kobo and naira. The Quran tells us that we should seek the hereafter, but we should not forget our portion of the world. So we need to, as Muslims, live holistically, seeking our hereafter and optimizing our portion of the world. Eat well, dress well, sleep well, seek medical attention. These are all for the physical. For the emotional, we need to be able to express love, care, and affection for each other. Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was one of the most romantic, if not the most romantic man that ever lived. He paid attention to the emotional well-being of his wives and children. Fatima radiallahu anha will walk into a room and he would stand up, give her kissing on her cheeks, and sit her down where he was sitting to show her love. Do we show our young love, or we want them to go and seek it in the internet? There are a lot of people in the internet waiting to give them. If you, as a father or a mother, you're not willing to give them love and affection to show them that they matter. When you do this, you're ensuring the mental well-being of your child. When you do this for your wives, like Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he will raise with his wives. He will raise with his wife. We had narrations from Aisha radiallahu anha where he raised with her, and at another time he raised with her, and then he won, and then he was making fun of her in a good way. So, do you play with your family members? Do you play with your spouse? Or you are too serious, staying on the mats, fasting all day and praying all day? There is this narration where, some people came and they didn't meet Rasul, and they were saying, one person said, I'll fast all the time. Another said, I would pray all the time. Another said, I would abstain from intimacy. And when the news got to Rasul, he said, who are those people? I am your messenger. I am your prophet. I sleep and then I wake up. I fast and I break my fast. And I establish marital relations with my wife. We Muslims are people of the middle path. When we adhere to this, we are optimizing not only our personal mental well-being, but the mental well-being of people under our care, whose responsibility we must carry because we will account for them. So, emotionally, we must optimize our mental well-being and the emotional mental well-being of people under our care by showing them love, by showing them affection, by giving them what they need emotionally. Remember, those whom Allah have said we should seek the hereafter, but we should not forget our portion of the world. Then when we look at, we have spoken about mental, emotional, physical. We've spoken about physical, psychological. We must pay attention to the psychological well-being of our own self. We must tie our camel. We must check in with ourselves to know, what is my state of health? What do I need? Do I need to see a professional? Do I need a break? We must pay attention. We do not have an excuse. And then we must do this for people under our care too, whose responsibility we carry, especially the young. We must pay attention to how they are expressing themselves. We must be role models for them for how to behave. And we must pay attention to what is happening to them and know if they require professional help, and we must get them professional help. It is our responsibility. Nobody is going to do this responsibility for us. We must ensure we do it, purifying our intention for doing them and seeking the pleasure of Allah in this regard. And then we'll gain our full reward if we really purify our intention for why we're doing all of these acts of ibadah, for taking our responsibilities. And then spiritual, our spiritual well-being. This is one of the cocoa of the matter. Our spiritual well-being is paramount, because Allah has told us in the Quran that He has created men and jinn only to worship Him. So how can we ensure that all our acts that we do daily are acts of worship? I was very impressed, and I always say this. There was a sister, and she said something very profound. She said, I enhance my taqwa, my consciousness of Allah, to the extent that I strive, even when I take a cup of water and I take a sip, I am taking a sip with the intention to strengthen myself so that I can serve Allah. Allahu Akbar. This level of awareness is what we need to have as Muslims to ensure not only our mental well-being, but the mental well-being of people around us. Those who are always striving, struggling, seeking the pleasure of Allah with all of our actions as Muslims, as Mu'mins. May Allah enable us to attain this level of consciousness. Because remember, Allah says that He's closer to us than even our jugular veins. And we can make all our acts an act of worship. We can strive towards making all our acts. The question is, have you chosen Islam, or did Islam choose you? If you were born a Muslim, have you taken a conscious effort to choose Islam again? Have you made a conscious effort to learn about Allah, to understand what the Sharia requires of you? For us to be mentally well and to also contribute to the mental well-being of people in our cycle, we must learn about Allah. This is the first. You cannot worship Allah if you do not know Him. And this is the first duty we have as a Muslim. To optimize our mental well-being, we must know Allah. We must know whose we are. We must know Allah. To optimize our mental well-being and take responsibility for the mental well-being of people in our cycle, we must know Allah. And we must know ourselves. We must purify our intention for what we do. So, in conclusion, from psychological research and from the Sharia, we know that the mental well-being of each of us is our responsibility. The mental well-being of everyone in our cycle is our secondary responsibility. And we must optimize this. We must optimize this by optimizing the mental, the physical, the emotional, psychological, and spiritual dimensions of mental well-being, and taking responsibility for our parts in them. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, may Allah forgive where I erred, accept this as an act of ibadah, and may you who listen understand this more than I said it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Questions, feedback, comments?
Comments? Please raise your hand. Comment one. And second. Third. Rapidly, of course. On behalf of the entire mission, I would say that that's from Nigeria. First comment is first feedback. And I understand that to mean my response or my reaction to the lecture that has been delivered. May Allah reward our sister. She has delivered the lecture in a beneficial manner. And we ask Allah to enable us to reap the benefit of the lecture. Now I go to comments. You see, this topic is one of the confirmations that Allah has left nothing out in Islam for us. Look at how we are talking about mental well-being, and we are copying. She copied from the Quran, and I'm even going to copy from the Quran also. And building on the foundation that she has laid, so that the emotional and mental well-being of the Ummah is individual responsibility as well as communal responsibility. I'm going to quote a hadith where Prophet said, "As-sabrin as-sadamatil ula." When trial occurs, when affliction befalls a person, the show of patience at the initial stage of the occurrence of the negative event is what shows patience, really. That is what is called endurance. If you examine this hadith very, very well, you see that it is towing the line or the path of what the speaker has just spoken about. Ability to control one's reaction when that thing that you detest, when that thing that you dread first occurs. So this, like she said, that we need to work on our emotions. I think all of us, every one of us, must identify how he or she reacts at the beginning of that thing that he or she hates. It's very important, especially and particularly among the couples. Then, between the parents, particularly the fathers and the children. A lot of times, the mothers, they hardly have problem with the children. But a lot of times, some children have problem with their fathers. Sometimes it could be stage managed, maybe with the instrumentality of the mother, either knowingly or unknowingly. But the father, being the head of the family, he should always remember this at this. I'm not talking to any particular person among us. I'm talking to all of us, including myself. As-sabru inda sadamatil ula. Your emotional well-being, your mental alertness at the occurrence of that thing. Secondly, I'm going to quote a verse of the Quran to allude to what the speaker has mentioned, that we should think of how we impact on the mental
well-being of the people around us. Prophet Musa, alayhi salam, was leading the Israelites from the territory and domain of Fir'aun. They were trying to escape, and they got to the bank of the river that they could not cross ordinarily. And the followers of Prophet Musa, they lost control of the balance of their mentality, and they could not control themselves emotionally. And they even did not, act it. They also said it. Sometimes you may be feeling something within you, you try to step it down, you don't say it. But to the point that you say it means that you cannot conceal it anymore. They say, Inna lamudrakun. Certainly, the people of Fir'aun himself and his soldiers, they are going to catch up with us here. And the implication is that they will be exterminated. This is river they could not cross in their front. This is Fir'aun along with his soldiers coming from the back. Here, look at the beautiful lesson we get from Prophet Musa. He said, Inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdin. Certainly, my Lord is with me and is going to give me directives as to what to do. Look at how Prophet Musa alayhi salam trained the people around him to be mentally well, to be emotionally balanced, even in the face of what they believe is capable of consuming them. I want us to take it to our family, our families, each of us, our individual family. It could be the husband, it could be the wife. Those that are sisters, let's take this to our husbands and brothers to their wives, and the two of us to our children. Your child may go through an examination, it may fail. How do you handle the situation? He may be looking at it as this inna lamudrakun. Will you tell him inna ma'iya rabbi, or you will tell him that kai inna lillahi, forget about it, you can't make it, and so forth? A word is not for the wise. And lastly, all of us among ourselves, particularly this period in which we find ourselves, we cannot pretend as if we don't know that things are going awkwardly, are going on awkwardly in the society, economically, socially, and religiously, morally as well. So many evils in society. What do? I want to refer us to the last quotation I want to make before I take my seat, where Allah instructed us. It's an instruction from Allah. And that instruction is directed to only Muslims. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu isbiru wasabiru warabitu. These three words, these three instructions, they are commandments from Allah. Ourselves, we should be full of endurance. We should be mentally okay. We should be emotionally okay. Because it's from within. It's from the heart to the brain. From the brain to the limbs. Wasabiru. Don't say, after all, I've been able to control myself mentally and emotionally. I have no business with others. Impart it to others. Say good words to them. Give them encouragement. Give them hope. Give them even assistance where you can. Even where you cannot give them physically, say good words to them. Warabitu, and hold one another tightly. This is what we need this particular time to fulfill the demands of the topic of this evening, which is mental well-being of the Ummah, whose responsibility. These three quotations In addition to what Dr. Aisha Adaviruku has delivered, answers the question. It is individual responsibility as well as communal responsibility. May Allah help us. Assalamu alaikum.
Ended his topic. Ended his talk. The question we ask ourselves is, for some of us that have been in this country for some time now, its normal thing was night journey before. You have business in Lagos, you live in the evening, you conduct your transaction during the daytime, you live back in the night without paying hotel bills. For the students, I could remember when I was in Ife, just stay at the gate. Your guarantee is there that a vehicle will stop and take you. Just show them your identity card. So the question now is, how did you find ourselves here? Injustice. This is the high time we should not limit our resources to our family and immediate friends alone. Let's extend this to others. These same people that are being called kidnappers were the people that, when your vehicle stop on the road in the Yas Park, will be the people that will help you. Come and take water, come and take this, come and take this. Can you sit down? You sleep overnight. So I think because we did not take care of the mental issues of our community in general, that's why we have found ourselves in this condition. For Nigeria to move forward, for the society to be a better place for us, we need to take care of every member of the society. And it's not so expensive. Someone has demanded an assistance from you. Kindly smile at him. Please, I'm so sorry. If it's 10,000 naira, you can have 500 naira. Gladly give the person with dignity the 500 naira, a smile, and a hope. May Allah make it easy for all of us.
So, Alhamdulillah, I think some of what I wanted to say has been said by the two Umaras before me. But I just wanted to let us know and give the answer to what he has said, whose responsibility. And which our speaker have said it very well, very correctly, is both individual and collective responsibility. If you look at even the responsibility, the duties, the commands of Al-Islam, from the pillars of Islam, is showing us, is giving us the answer. Let's look at prayers. If you look at prayers, you see in prayer is your responsibility, because prayer is on you and nobody will take it out from you. It's what we call fardu ain. If you don't do it, nobody can do it for you. However, it contains spiritual aspect, it contains medical health aspect, it contains physical aspect. Today we are hearing many people are saying in sujud, even placing your forehead on the ground, there is some health benefit in it. There's health benefit in it. Stand up at night and observe tahajjud very well. You will realize that you have done some physical exercise. And above all, you have done spiritual exercise. This is individual responsibility. Then come to fasting. It is also an individual responsibility, am I right? But in fasting too, what do you earn? Beside the spiritual aspect, you have the health aspect and you have the social aspect. Then you go to zakat purely on social aspect, where giving out zakat will even bring about peace. Because if everybody is giving out zakat the way it's supposed to be given out, nobody will hurt one another again. The problem we have today is because the institution of zakat is not even there. The poor one is feeling pains of the rich one, and he's feeling opportunity. If he have opportunity, he will do away with the rich one, because the rich one is not giving that one. I can say not they say corporate social responsibility. This Allah's corporate social responsibility is zakat, divine corporate social responsibility. Allah have given it there. You can see the mental well-being that Allah has put in there. In what? Zakat. Then go to Hajj. Everything is there. There is economic benefit in Hajj. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Laysa alaykum junahun an tabtagu fadlan min rabbikum. There is spiritual aspect of Hajj. There is even physical. Just look at the the tawaf alone. Going around 7 times is a non-physical exercise. And look at it. The first, what you call the tawaf al-qudum. How did Allah instructed the Muslim? If you are doing it, expose especially the men, expose your what? Your right arm, shoulder, to show that there is no laziness in Islam. Let people see that you have that elbow, you have it, you are physically fit. The standing in Arafat, the going of Muzdalifah, the throwing of the pebble, the Safa between Marwa, all have their physical and health benefit and mental benefit in it. Then to cap it all, the Prophet ﷺ said, your body have right over you and your soul have right over you. So as a Muslim, you must make sure that you balance in between what? The body and the soul. And that is why Allah have created you of the body and soul. The body represents the world. The soul represents the hereafter. The body represents everything that have to do with physical. And the soul represents everything that have to do with spiritual. And that was why, as the speaker have said it rightly, when some people came to the Prophet and they made a vow, some say we will never eat again during the day. We keep on fasting. He has given more priority to the spiritual than it didn't strike balance. Some say we are not going to marry again. We will remain celibate, showing that they are trying to also make imbalance in between social responsibility, physical responsibility, and spiritual responsibility. While the other one say, I'll stand the whole night, they are also trying to deny their body that mental health. What did the Prophet say? He said, Wallahi, I know Allah more than you. But I fast and I eat food. I married and I stand up at night and I sleep. And anyone that refuses to follow my sunnah is not part of me. What is Allah, the Prophet telling us? Maintain social, mental well-being, balanced mental well-being, even as individual. So when we look at all this, we'll understand that we are not a person that will say we are all everything about hereafter we forget about this world. Allah says, "Wala tansa nasibaka min ad-dunya." But what we are expected to do is to strike balance in achieving all this. May Allah continue to guide and protect us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah reward the contributors. Without further delay of our time, we will be going to questions and answer, inshallah. Let's indicate interest. Those who want to ask questions, briefly. Let's raise up our hands from the brothers. Question on mental well-being. Whose responsibility? One. From the sisters. Dr. Taiwo, do you have contribution or question? None of the above. So I'll give to the brothers, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulullah. We appreciate the presenter. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue to increase her in knowledge, to continue to guide her. And those of us who are in attendance, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit us with the lecture. My question is this. If you look at the world today, you discover that we are in a present world of chaos in which the economic hardship is strongly down on everybody. It's strongly down on everybody. And as a parent whose the economic strength is very, very small, you discover that all this responsibility, when you think over them, you will be having a kind of tension within you. And there's no way, and there's nowhere to run to have that financial relief. So in a situation like this, What do you do as a parent? Thank you.
Yes, I also have a question. Something happened just within the week where a young boy of 18 years old visited the aunt, then take an advantage after the aunt have allowed him access to the house. She was feeling sleepy. She went and sleep with the children, a toddler with her, and the boy haven't noticed that the woman she's deep asleep. Because of the phone, went and carry heavy stick and hit the woman to the point the woman died. After her death, he also do the same thing with the small child the woman is holding. So this get me worried, and so many other things that we really need to go beyond just theory in our conversation with our children in our society. That was to even inform this topic, mental well-being of the woman, whose responsibility. How do we get out of this kind of problem? Because if you just say, okay, your mental health is just your own concern, you leave everybody to his own, then somebody who is mad in his or her own circle will commit some certain thing that you cannot even really read meaning to it or imagine it. So how do we get into this stage, and how do we also come out of it? Thank you very much.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi. Sorry, I was not able to attend much of the listening. Just Allah to the sister that delivered the doctor. May Allah continue to bless you, inshallah. When I saw the topic, honestly, sorry?
Straight to the question.
Oh, I thought it's question and comment, right? Question and comment, not... Oh, only question. Oh, okay. Let me...
You said comment, yes.
Just in 1-2 minutes, because this already is so it.
Okay, when I saw the... Honestly, it's a very germane topic. And the responsibility is all of us, the Muslims. All of us, honestly, we are causing a lot of problems for ourselves, the UMMAH. Because if you can see, even in different places, in our offices, in our homes, have we been able to follow what is supposed to be done? Are we doing it? You see a brother causing problem for his own brother. Instead of helping his brother, he's causing more harm to his brother. You see a sister causing more harms to his own sister. Instead of helping, he's causing more harms. And you wonder, when Rasulullah says that the woman is only one, are you getting me? Muslims, your own Muslim.
Help people to help themselves. Sometimes when people are in this kind of situation, they are no longer in their senses, so they don't even know their left from their right. So it is your responsibility to help them as much as you can. We each owe this responsibility to people around us. Talk to people that can help him. Talk to an NGO you know that may be able to help this kind of people. When you notice these things, Rasulullah said that we should address issues by speaking up about it, by doing something with our hands about it, or by hating it in our hearts, which is the matter. Have I finished my own? Have I done this? Do as much as you can for people, especially for people in this kind of situation. He was showing signs. It didn't just happen. And remember, again, as Muslims, some of these cases are spiritual, some are purely medical. He may have become possessed. So we need to uphold our daily askars. Very important. Doing our askars daily is like wearing the armor. As is being described in the Sharia, it's like wearing a coat, an impenetrable armor. So it's very essential that we do this, and it's very essential that we help people as much as we can. May Allah heal him. Then, financial responsibility. The economy is not smiling at all. And it's global. It's not only Nigeria. It's only that right now we are feeling the pinch because of the removal of subsidy. Venezuela right now. I saw a video yesterday. A man had a cup of coffee in front of him and a big bundle of cash. And he said that about 3 years ago, that bundle of cash can get him an apartment in Venezuela. But right now, that bundle of cash, all it can get for him is that cup of coffee. May Allah save Nigeria. So I want to ask us, in our corners, how productive are we? What are we producing? You know, you can actually produce some of your food. You can use tires, you can use pots, you can use a lot of things to produce some of your food. You can produce vegetables, you can produce a lot of things. So this is the moment to diversify as much as we can. We need to increase our income streams. We need to diversify. We cannot afford to put our heads. If you know a farmer that you trust, send them money to farm on your behalf. These are some of the ways that you can be productive and add to the productive venture in the economy. And please, let's reduce our foreign consumptions, because this is telling directly on our FX as much as we can. Then, of course, the one that never fails me, after I tie my camel, I look at when I have a financial challenge, I look at who are those owing me that I can talk to. Maybe I'll pray for them. Ya Allah, please bless them. Let them pay me. Then I'll look at what can I sell? What can I leverage? What can I do? Who can I talk to? Who can I speak to? How can I sell my talent or my productive efforts? Then I increase my tahajjud. By the time I wake up in the morning, part of my challenge is solved. When I'm very broke, I must do tahajjud. So sometimes it's Allah calling us, right? Some of those trials, some of those challenges is Allah calling our attention. And one of the greatest keys in Islam, and one of the greatest keys from psychological research, is gratitude. Focus on what is present, what Allah has given you without your efforts. Allah has blessed us with our sense of sight, our sense of hearing, our sense of feeling, our sense of smell, our sense of taste. I had a class recently, and a father that attended that neuro-linguistic programming training was telling me about his daughter that cannot hear. His daughter was born, she went deaf when she was about 1 year old. And he told me something. He said that, you know they have hearing aids, right? Yes. Now, he said his one hearing aid, just one, is about 650,000. Now, when the people that are deaf, when they use hearing aid, they cannot filter what they can hear. You know, as you're here right now, you can decide to pay attention to only me in spite of all the other noise. But for somebody wearing hearing aid, they cannot filter what they can hear. They hear everything in real time. Say Allahu Akbar. Say Alhamdulillah. That you can hear me without aid. Focus on those things that Allah has given you without your effort. Focus on those things that you can be grateful for. You drink water daily. There are people struggling for water. You have all of these huge blessings. And Allah told us in the Quran, and it's something that I have tried and worked for me. If you're grateful, I'll grant you increase. Hakun. Very true. Focus on those things you can be grateful for. And those things that are challenges for you will take care of themselves. But remember to tie your camel and then leave your affairs with Allah. You see, me, I would look for people that owe me. I would look for what I can sell. I would, look for where I can look for money. And then I'll still do tahajjud. By morning, if money has not come, my mind will be at rest. This is what we should do as Muslims, to focus on our blessings. If we focus on our blessings, when Allah told us in the Quran that with hardship there is ease, after hardship there is ease, some scholars have said that the real translation is with hardship there is ease. So for every hardship you experience, there is an ease you can focus on. So when we choose our focus, we enhance our mental well-being, and the promise of Allah is always true. If you are grateful, He will grant you increase. Tested, trusted. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. There were two questions. I hope I have responded to them as best as I can. Wa alaikum salam.
The role of society okay. My question is about the role of society in curbing alcoholism and intake of hard drugs, as it is evident that it is a very, very great determinant for reduction in mental well-being of the society. So how can the society collectively solve the menace of the increasing intake of hard drugs, including, especially among youths?
Thank you. You get it right.
Thank you. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. When I started my discussion, I mentioned that there is what we call comorbidity. You know, some of the challenges that we face is people trying to cope with the normal stressors of life. Some people resort to the use of drugs. Some people resort to alcoholism to cope with stress. So the question now is, how can we as a society educate people on better positive ways to cope with stress rather than resorting to negative fast ways of coping with stress? So people become addicted to these modes of coping rather than the positive ways. We have incidences of drug abuse amongst the youth. We have issues of drug abuse amongst married women and men. And these incidences have been on the increase for a while. Now, we need to address and educate people. We need to create awareness so that people know that there are positive ways of coping and resolving stress and emotional issues rather than resorting to the negatives. The negatives sometimes may look fast, but in the long run, it will take over an individual's life and it will derail an individual. And the thing is, if it derails the individual only in, dunya, at least maybe the individual will think, oh, I'll have succor in the hereafter. But once the derailment happens in dunya, it will affect the akhirah, which is our main purpose for being here. We are just visitors here. We are on a journey back home to Allah. So as a visitor, how can we optimize our mental health when we face trials in life? You know that it is even a good thing. One of the hijabs that Allah does for us is that most times we do not look like the problems we have. We do not look like the problems we have, right? So if Allah has done this for us as a cover, why don't we seek sustainable solutions? Part of seeking sustainable solutions is to be aware to increase what we call our mental capital. Because it's by mental capital that we achieve emotional resilience and emotional intelligence. Once we're able to achieve emotional intelligence and emotional resilience, we are more able to cope and resolve our challenges, understanding that resorting to fast means, or means which look fast, like drugs and alcohol, and some people even are addicted to some other things beyond this. They do not serve our short, medium, and long-term goals. So as an ummah, we need to have more discussions like this as an ummah. And it is not enough to have these discussions as an ummah. In each of our homes, we must become shepherds. We must play our roles as shepherds. Rather than burying our heads in the sand, we must take charge of our flocks. It is a duty which Allah is going to ask you. If Allah has blessed you with children or anybody under your care, then you must be ready to account for them on the day of standing. And you can more readily account for them by what you do and how you administer their affairs in dunya. So I want you to, for all of us here that are responsible for people under our care, go home today, do a thorough, what we call a life audit. Ask yourself, have I played my role well as a shepherd? And in what ways can I play my role better? Because for every challenge we see in society today, it's from one home. Is it from your home? And what have you done about it? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah forgive me where I've erred. May all those who listened and contributed, may Allah benefit them and accept it from them as an act of ibadah. May what all of us have shared, may those who listened understand it better than it was said.
Takbir. May Allah bless our sister, the chairman, MDCU of Master Hub Coach. Without further delay of our time is have gone. The Maghrib is approaching. We'll break for Maghrib, then we'll come back for Iftar proper. We'll be calling on Dr. Muhammad Awal Yusuf to give us the adjourning dua. Tafadhal, Doctor.
Sallu ala Nabil Karim. Let's recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Generally, what has been discussed, may Almighty Allah give us the wisdom and the strength to comprehend and act on them. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. إن الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم